All right, morning guys, it's Sunday. It's been a pretty good week here in the shop. We got a lot of things done, a lot of things cleaned up. Pretty excited to say that I'm finally figuring out this GoPro stuff. Was able to get the correct SD card, the right speed, also the right size, so hopefully this thing won't overheat and have glitches. Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm Caleb Morrison. This is Caleb's Diesel and Fabrication. If you like fabricating stuff, if you like working on diesel vehicles, this is a great place to be because we're going to do it all. Went out, last weekend and we did that crawling at Disney, got some good footage. Went pretty good. I was pretty happy with the product. Truck did really great, turned a lot of heads, but the main thing is it performed really well. Just little stuff that happened during the trip. My radio stopped working for some reason in the truck, which wasn't a big deal because I had the fam with me, but I kind of want that, so we're going to figure that out. Another thing is I'm excited to announce that I'm going to be heading to Moab, Utah come the second week of September, which is just after my birthday, so it'll be kind of a birthday present to myself. We're going to go, me and my brother-in-law, we're going up to full-size Invasion in Moab, Utah, and I'm pretty excited, pretty stoked about it because it's basically a little setup where all the full-size trucks, all the full-size guys that have, Blazers, Broncos, I think there's Jeeps too, honestly, from the videos that I've seen, but I've never been. This will be my first trip, so never been to Moab, never been crawling up there. I've never actually had the opportunity to do that. So now that I got the rig here, we're gonna definitely be making our way up there. I got the trailer set up, got the truck ready. Just got some little things I gotta do. One of those little things that I noticed the other day whenever we were crawling was my bump stops down here. They need to be lowered about 3/4 of an inch to be able to not allow the tire to get up into the fender. And another reason I want to do that is possibly down the road I might do 42s, maybe, which would be kind of cool. But if we don't do 42s, I stay with the 40s, I can just adjust these bump stops down. So I went ahead and ordered some new bump stops, and they turned out pretty good from Wide Open Design. I'll show you these. They just have an open top with bolts that tighten down, and my hydraulic bump stop just sits right in top of there and tightens down. But what I'm going to do with these is take these off, put her on here, and I actually put an extension on them just to kind of be able to see if I was in the neighborhood. But I'm going to trim that bracket back and redo the bracket. Sometimes it's the name of the game. You just got to redo things and get it right. I used to have a coach in high school, Coach Newton, and he used to say, do it right, do it light, do it wrong, do it long. I miss seeing that guy. A lot of things going on though. I'm getting stoked. We're less than a month away from loading up and going to Utah for full-size Invasion in Moab. It's going to be a solid week of wheeling, guys. Solid week. I'm super stoked. To take this thing out every day and go wheeling, for a trail, I don't know for how long, but probably for the better part of the day. That just makes me freaking excited to be going. I've just never really done a wheeling trip like that. I've gone 2 or 3 days at a time, but this will be pretty cool. Another update is I noticed that they are going to do Ultimate Adventure this year for 2023. I don't think I was picked because I didn't get the call, but that's okay. Life is still good. We still got a badass rig and it's going to do great things regardless. So I noticed that Christian put on his Instagram that they let all the participants know, and they got some sponsors this year, new sponsors for Ultimate Adventure, and so they're going to be doing it, which I'm super excited about because I love watching the footage of that. It's super awesome just to see it all go down and get to see everybody in action going on that wheeling trip. So Didn't get picked, but guys, it's no big deal. I mean, there's always next year. It's the way I look at it. Just gives me more time to get better. It's, you know, honing my craft to driving this truck and getting better at wheeling and getting better as a, you know, fabricator as well, and, you know, changing out stuff that I may or may not like. And I think us going to Moab and testing it out and working on it, I think we're going to be able to kind of figure out some of the things that we may or may not need to do to change, so we can, you know, make this thing 100% complete. But so far so good, just little tweaks. So let's get these bump stuffs off, get these tires off, and start working on throwing some sparks. I'm excited. Well, one of my favorite things about having the shop is the ability to have this lift. I know I probably mentioned it before, but one thing I love and should have done whenever I started building this in the corner over here was I should have put a lift over there so I could have worked on it at my leisure on a lift. It would have made it way easier. So next time, I'll have it on a lift the whole time. All right, guys, we're back at it. I'm a little bit farther than I was last time I was on camera, so I went ahead and I got these lowered about an inch and a quarter or so, where they're going to make contact with the bump stop there. So it's looking pretty good. I'm happy with it. Burned up some of my welding blankets, but that's what they're there for, so they don't mess up my limiting straps. This side looking pretty good. Got a bracket in there and a brace back there, so it comes down quite a bit. I ended up cutting off this whole inside piece of the old brackets. They're over there on the ground, but it worked out pretty good. You know, with this build, I've kind of learned that you just kind of have to roll with it. It's just one of those things. You just got to roll with the punches here and make sure it all works. And the main thing is I'm trying to keep, you know, the tires from making contact with the fender, which you can see it's rubbed a little bit already, but it's okay. I mean, I got it dialed in now, I guess you could say, so I'm happy with the progress. I think tomorrow I'm going to work on making a little brace, probably go from here, come out, and then come up, go over and cover up my heater control valve for the vintage air, and then also cover up this wiring right here, because some of my main wiring is right up underneath here. So I'm going to just kind of cover this up to protect it. Those the Super Duty axle is underneath here. It doesn't really have a problem really hitting anything, and even at full bump and full lock when the tires are up. So I'm going to put a little bit of a protector on there and just kind of hold that up out of the way. That way we don't have to worry about rocks or dirt and you know, water if we go through something like that. Getting up into the wiring right there where the relays are, which are kind of up there. But anyways, that'll be for tomorrow. We got plenty done today. I ended up using my tranny jack to lift up my axle to full bump so I could get an accurate representation of where it was going to be. So that wasn't too bad. I'm happy with what happened today and the progress. It's good for a Sunday. Hope you guys are liking all the progress we're making so far. Appreciate you supporting me and liking the videos. And you know, if you would, go ahead and subscribe. Help me out a little bit. There's going to be a lot more to come, and not just wheeling this truck and doing other things, but I got some other things up my sleeve that we're going to start working on. I'm probably going to end up at least doing one more square body, but my brother has a really sweet 74 Cherokee that we kind of been chomping at the bit to work on. Might work on that. I don't know. I got a 4-door square body 86 that I've thought about LS swapping or putting a diesel in. I don't know. There's so many possibilities. So guys, thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. All right guys, good morning. Back in the shop. Just got done at the fire station this morning, so I'm back working on the truck and another work day in the shop. So we got plenty of stuff to work on. Some exciting news. Day before yesterday, I was cruising Instagram and saw where Christian Hazel posted that you know, we made the Dirty Dozen list for Ultimate Adventure, which was a huge surprise to me because I was not expecting that. I thought in a previous post that he had already picked all the people for Ultimate Adventure. So what that means for us is there's a possibility that we will be going on UA. They picked 5 that are on that list of 12. It's huge just to make it to the list of 12 because there's hundreds of applicants that end up going. But I'm stoked because, you know, just to be able to make that list is quite a feat. So I'm going to be part of that, possibly. Might get picked to be one of the 5. There's quite a few Jeeps that are on that list. There's some really, really capable rigs, guys. There's Wrangler that looked pretty legit. They had a couple of Cherokees, some older Wagoneer Cherokees. There's a Land Rover in there, which I did see that one year on Ultimate Adventure. Vern had it. Had one that's kind of looked like this truck does. It's got 1 tons and it's pretty sweet. There's an International Harvester Scout on there, I believe. There's another square body. It's a Blazer. Don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it does have 1 tons and it's got 40s, so it's got some goodies on it. So we're pretty excited. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, that would be cool to get picked down to the 5 where we could go on Ultimate Adventure, because really, you know, that's why we started this build totally, is to kind of model it after going towards Ultimate Adventure and doing stuff for Ultimate Adventure and trying to kind of meet the blueprint, if you will, of trucks that have been successful on UA. So I've kind of tried to model this thing after, you know, the success of others that have been on UA, and so far I haven't been disappointed, honestly. But right now it's going really good. I got a couple things I need to do today, but one thing we got done here recently over the past few days is the bump stops. I got extended a little bit farther down to help with the flexing out and where it's not rubbing on the fender well, which I got a little bit of that going on, not a ton, but I ended up painting my link bars, painting the frame, and then working on some of my axle brackets, just getting it all kind of freshened up and painted where some of the bare metal was from fabricating. I think I'm going to end up adding another brace. I know you guys are really surprised that I'm actually going to do some more welding, but I think I'm going to add another brace to this back here from here down to here, maybe to help with stability. just a little bit, guys. Just every little bit helps. I mean, this thing is braced to the hilt up here, especially. It's got plenty of bracing there, so no issues. But I need to move a brake line, and then also I noticed that my heat shielding for my axle vent got a little hot, a little crispy. I need to replace that and route it a little differently, so I don't have to worry about that. You know, the headers are right here, and you know, with headers, the thing you always got to worry about is possibly having heat on, you know, stuff that's close. So you know, I've wrapped it and kind of done my due diligence here, but you know, you can never do enough, really. So anyways, we're coming along, guys. I'm gonna get to work on this thing, and I'm kind of excited. I'm gonna start going through here and talking about some of the actual components, why we use certain things on this build and why we didn't use certain things on this build, just from my little experience also, and then, you know, the recommendations of others that have been doing this for a long time, and then people, you know, that I've talked to, like, you know, Steven Watson from Off-Road Design. Those guys have just been invaluable to this project, because you're able to bounce some ideas and see what they think, because they know what works. And you know, I'm thankful for those people that are willing to share their time and help you learn. So I'm here because of that, and I'm hoping to pass it along as I go. So we're going to go over some of these components and why we used them on this build, and I'll be doing that, and you guys will kind of understand the method to my madness, if you will. So be right back. Hey guys, back in the shop. A couple of things have happened. Got little things whipped out in shape and got it done. Got a couple of brake line problems fixed. I was having, well, I guess you really wouldn't say it's a problem, but had a little issue with tying down the truck on the trailer. It seemed like that the chain was touching the brake line. It wasn't interfering or touching, like breaking it, but it was getting kind of a little too close for comfort on this front axle. So one thing I did, I went ahead and moved my brake lines, which I've seen this, you know, on different trucks in the past, but what they do is, instead of routing them, you know, over the axle, which is the way I had it routed down with these group of wires and lines here going across the axle to the other side, and hooked into the side. So not a big deal, right? Well, the problem is whenever I was hooking the chain around the axle, it was starting to get too close, and because I had them tied to this stud right here. So what I did was I extended the line a little bit, went to a Mariflex, and I had to make the hose a little bit bigger, longer, and I put it across the engine cross member here, and I got these wire ties up here, so it's good and tucked out of the way. Of course, I got my suspension at full droop right now, and so they're not going to be moving any farther down, so that's as far as it's going to go. So I really like the way that turned out. I think it's going to be better, not only for wheeling, but also for loading it on the trailer. So another thing I wanted to go over, I've had a couple of questions about kind of what suspension, the type of axle, why I picked the type of axle I did, and why I did what I did. So I'll start off with saying that if you're a Chevy purist, this probably isn't the most fun part for you, but I have good reasoning. So this is a Chevy K20, it's an 85 model, you guys already know, but you know, from the factory, this truck has a passenger side drop transfer case and differential for the front axle. So if you look at this one, obviously it's not, it's a driver's side. So the reason I went with a Super Duty Dana 60, so this is an 05 Super Duty Dana 60 axle out of a 2005 Ford F-250. They came factory. You know, Ford always has had the driver's side drop, same with transfer case, right? So the reason I did that is just the sheer size of this axle is just impressive. I mean, look how big, look how beefy this thing is. The tube itself is almost a full 1 inch in diameter bigger than the stock Dana 60 that would have came on this truck from the factory. I'm not saying that the Dana 60, the Kingpin style Dana 60s are not strong. Guys wheel them every single day. They abuse them, they use them, it's just great. But I have other reasons for using it. Number one, I think it's cool to be a little bit different and make it work. And number two, I had never seen it done on a square body truck before. So out of all the wheeling videos I've ever watched, all the Ultimate Adventures, all the Moab trips, which I'm sure there's one out there, but I have never seen a Super Duty Dana 60 Ford axle. I've seen leaf spring Dana 60s, but not a Super Duty 05 plus Dana 60 in a square body pickup. So I wanted to do it. Off-Road Design didn't offer a kit necessarily for the Super Duty Dana 60, but what I did was I called up Off-Road Design, talked to Steven, and we ended up going with the brackets and the setup, their kit for like a early 90s, late 80s Ford pickup axle. And I ended up cutting these beautiful braces and brackets that Off-Road Design made, and I made them fit to this axle itself. So this isn't something on the front axle that I just bought the kit and just started going to town welding. Like, yeah, I did do a lot of welding, but I had to do a lot of thinking. I had to do a lot of moving this stuff around to make it work. So it created a lot of extra headaches, guys. I can't even explain to you how much I stressed over getting the geometry right, getting the brackets set up where they're supposed to be, and getting it all sitting right. Before I started this whole project, I knew nothing about, I say I know nothing. I didn't know very much about camber, caster, and the way that the axle is set up. And when you're driving down the road, you don't want your differential pointed up in the air. You want it to be kind of a negative pointing down, and so that way when you're going up and down, it's not fighting the drive shaft and the U-joint here. So I'm starting to learn all this, and I'm putting all the pieces together. So I went with the Super Duty Dana 60 also because Reed makes these awesome knuckles that are aftermarket that are bigger than stock, so you can go with a bigger U-joint, and you can also go with bigger axle shafts. So that was important to me because I knew my style of driving is lots of skinny pedal and hammering down on it. Lots of speed sometimes. I don't mind. I knew the engine I was going to put in it, so I also knew I was going to have to take that in consideration. So I went with the Super Duty Dana 60 for the beefiness, and then also the ability to add the Reed knuckles, and then also the bigger U-joints, the bigger axle shafts, chrome moly, and then also along the way, I ended up getting the ball joint eliminators, Ballistic Fab. They completely get rid of the top ball joint, and it essentially turns the top of it into a Kingpin style of axle, like the older Dana 60s. So it has like a brass bushing, and then actually like a bolt that goes down in it. And you can see it goes down in there, and it's just like a Kingpin. I wouldn't say it's near as strong, but it's pretty close. So I stayed with the original ball joint in the bottom, just heavy duty ball joints. And you can see with the bolt that goes through there, just how close with these big U-joints and stub shafts, how heavy duty and how close it is. So I went with that just to add the beefiness of it. And they have great brake system. It's a Dana axle, it's heavy duty. The aftermarket is really starting to blow up with the Dana 60 stuff for the Super Duty axles. They've had it in the past, but just to be able to have more and more of it, like the availability is there to get any gear set, locker. It's awesome. I wouldn't say it's the cheapest axle to work on and build, but it's definitely one that I would do over again. It's been super strong so far. So along with that, I had to end up, modifying, these brackets, like I said, and then making my own panhard bar to get it to fit for the low clearance of the engine going across there. I got a high clearance oil pan so I could fit it. This cross member, it tucks up in there real nice. That's from Off-Road Design. That thing fit in there like a glove. It's super heavy duty. It's made well. I don't have any problems that's going to come apart in the near future. So another thing is that off-road design bracket already came with the mounts for the coilover shocks, so it worked out pretty good having that. I was able to get that set up the way it was supposed to, kind of be able to center those to get it to where it needs to be. Another thing that I did is I went with, on the reed knuckles, I went with the heavy duty steering arms and then the double shear here. So this adds extra strength. So the cool thing about a double shear is you know, it has a point up here and a point down here, and the bolt runs the full length through it all the way. So it's really strong. A lot of the steering you see on different vehicles that are off-roading and even on stock vehicles is you're going to see there'll only be one point up here to where this is tied in. So it might just be this top part, and there's just one bolt here about this long, and it has one spot for that. And then this hook onto the bottom, there's no bolt running all the way through, so you lose a lot of strength with that. Whenever you got a double shear, you're adding the strength of having a contact point on the top, so it has to push through this and this to you know, break it, and it's not going to happen. So I'm glad I went with that. The other thing that I was glad, I really like the Ford MP205. The transfer case that's in this truck came out of a '79 Ford F250, and it's a, you know, twin stick MP205. Had it completely rebuilt, top to bottom. It's been great. It gives you ability to kick the front axle and the back axle out, you know, at different times, whichever one you desire. So that's really good. And then, you know, obviously, I think I've talked about it before, I went with the Magnum transfer box, or Magnum box, that Off-Road Design sells, and that thing has just been a game changer. It's got a low and a high, and so you essentially gain some more gearing. Even though it's got 488s, you're going to gain an extra low and a high, so you're able to kind of pick between the low and the high on your transfer case, and then the low and the high also on the Magnum box. So it's really nice to be able to choose, because you have so many different, you know, ways of getting to where you want to go, if you will. I also have a 4L80 transmission from Maximum Transmission, so I'll tell you about that. The reason I went with the 4L80 is I've had some TH400 transmissions, and they've been great. They're really bulletproof if they're built right, and they work great, but they are just a 3-speed transmission. And so cruising down the highway, it's not that great. I mean, you don't get going that fast. Now, you're probably thinking, well, it's a rock crawler. Why are you talking about cruising down the highway? So I want to just keep you guys in the loop here. I am purposely have built this to go on an ultimate adventure. Like, that's what my goal has been from the beginning, is hopefully to make it. You know, even if I don't make it, it's not a big deal, but I wanted to be able to have the ability to crawl, do a good job, any gear, and then also I wanted to be able to cruise down the highway 80+ miles an hour if I wanted to, with 40s comfortably at not 4,000, 5,000 RPM. So that's what's great about this truck, is I've been able to, with the 4L80 from Maximum, it's a full manual reverse valve body. So what that means is you actually end up shifting every gear like a manual, but it doesn't have a clutch. So the other thing that's cool is Maximum put a lock-up torque converter on there, so I can actually manually lock in the torque converter anytime with you know, a switch, which I have mounted on the dash. So when I get it into 4th gear, I can just, bam, I can turn I can lock up the torque converter, bam, I've got, you know, it locked up, and it's getting all the power through the transmission. It just, you know, drops the gear, or the RPMs down. It runs really good. I'm cruising 71, 72 miles an hour, 2,400, 2,500 RPM, which for an LS is nothing. It's not a big deal. So I'm really, really happy with that. So I went with the Ford setup mainly because I wanted to be a little different, and I wanted to prove that it could be done, because I had never seen it before. So that was kind of my goal in that, is I wanted people to know that I just buy you know, everything off the shelf and just say, oh, you know, I just threw it on there and threw it together. And nothing against that. If that's what you can do, that's what you can do. But I wanted to show I can do this. I can build, I can fabricate, and I like a challenge. You know, I want to be challenged. It keeps me getting better as a fabricator, and so that's why I did that. You know, I want to be able to say at the end of the day, I've touched every part on this, and I know exactly how it was built, when it was built, and what it's capable of. And I welded everything, so if it breaks, it's on me. But you know, I went with that, and I felt like it's a pretty good combo. I mean, we'll see if eventually if we continue to wheel it here and see how it ends up doing. But on the rear, I just went with a GM 14 bolt. People call dragging the anchor around because they're a little lower on the bottom. They stick down a little farther. But the reason I went with the 14 bolt is, man, it's a bomb-proof axle. It's been proven over years and years and years to be a heavy-duty producing axle that just can be used and abused. So I knew what this truck was going to be used for, and so I thought, man, for a rear axle, I'm going 14 bolt. Parts are readily available. They're heavy-duty. They have a great track record. People know what they are. You know, the parts are not crazy expensive, so I went with the 14 bolt, and it's been great. You know, I went with the 4-link in the rear as well, and I went with the Barnes kit for this 4-link in the rear. I mainly wanted to showcase you know, the Barnes kit on the back because they had everything ready to go. They were more than helpful when I called. I was just overall, this whole building experience, honestly, with this truck, I haven't really had the problem of getting parts like they had during COVID. Like, you know, I've been able to order everything and it comes in a reasonable amount of time. You know, I can't really think of anything. The transmission took, you know, 4 or 5 weeks to get because they build them to spec, you know, to each one, so it's not a big deal. But I was glad whenever I ordered all the parts for the axles. It took about a week and all the parts for the axles came in, and we were able to get them thrown together, and they turned out really good. You know, I got the 4-link kit and the Barnes 4-wheel drive truss for the back. I welded it on myself. I got the rear disc brake conversion from Off-Road Design. I mean, they sell so many good things for these square body pickups and full-size rigs. You just can't beat them. They've kind of got it figured out. They've got it down to a fine art, guys. So one thing I had to do is, you guys probably know, but on a Ford F-250 from 2005, they have an 8-on 170 bolt pattern. So I ended up having to get some adapters from an 8-on or 8x170 to 8-on 6.5, so I could keep the wheels all the same. I didn't want to have 2 wheels the same and 2 wheels not the same, so I could have them all the same. So in the back, I went from 8-on 170 to 8-on 6.5, and it turned out pretty good. Excuse me, I kind of got a little bit of a head cold right now, but I'm still feeling pretty good. So another thing I had to do, guys, that, you know, they don't tell you about whenever you're doing all this custom building is you're going to cut some things and move some things that you didn't plan on. So whenever I decided I'm going with the Dana 60, the 05 Super Duty Dana 60, it's going to be great. I'm going to showcase that I can work and build and fabricate something really cool, and I'm going to make it work. Haven't seen it done before. Well, the bad thing is no one has a YouTube video to help you out on that part. So I ended up, because of where the axle sits and the size of the tires and where it sits on the truck, I ended up having to, number one, move my steering box to get it to be able to clear the panhard bar, and then for the steering drag link to go across. And then also I had to move you know, the fender line itself. You can see this is the very corner of where from the factory the light would have went, and so it took quite a bit of doing to get it. Now it looks natural in a way because I've kind of got it where it's set up here, but you can see just how close this was and how far forwards. So you can see here, my body mount, or the front cross member here mount is just right up against it. I mean, you could literally maybe slide a couple pieces of paper in between there. So yes, I went with a brand new PSC hydro assist. I went with their ported power steering box, their pump, the whole setup. But you can see, guys, just how close. It's so close that I ended up having to get my friend that's a machinist, Austin, to use his end mill and clearance the bolt head for the panhard bar. Don't worry, I've got an extra just in case. And I even threw the old Caleb Morrison tack on it, which is an actual real deal weld. So anyways, that clearanced and that worked out good. I ordered a lot of the steering stuff, the Heims from off-road, or excuse me, Barnes 4-wheel drive for the steering setup, and it worked out pretty good. I'm really happy with it. You can see I ordered the steering shaft. It's got the Borgeson joints in it from Off-Road Design, which worked out great. It's got plenty of clearance. Man, it just turned out perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better setup. So I'm just trying to go through and kind of describe the way I kind of work through these decisions that I made, because I did a lot of study and a lot of research before I committed to this, because this was an 85 K20, so it had 8 lug. It had 8 lug axles, but it wasn't a 60 and a 14, or it was a 14 bolt in the rear, but it was not a Dana 60. It was a 44, an 8 lug 44. So I wasn't going to go with that. I just knew that wasn't going to live very long with the 40. So I knew I was going to have to go with a different axle. So I got this axle. This one was a guy that we did some work for here in the shop. He had a parts truck that it was a 6.0 Power Stroke. No surprise. Motor was bad. And so I ended up getting the axle off of him because there's nothing wrong with it. Completely redoing it. And then this is the 14 bolt from the truck originally. So this is the original axle, although it is very highly modified now with chrome moly axle shafts and ARB air lockers and all the good stuff. So that probably brings me to the next thing. Why ARB air lockers? Why not go with the Ox Locker or Eaton, or something of that nature? Why not a Detroit, something that's a Spartan? Why not something like that? Well, for me, guys, I just didn't want to have on this type of rig. I know ARB makes a really good product. You don't hear people really complain about them. Yeah, there's times that things happen, but I've seen multiple people on videos and people that I have actually talked to that have broken Eaton e-lockers, that have completely just tore them apart on the trail. And so whenever they stop working, you don't have any more locker stuff going on. You're not locking those tires in. It's not going to happen. So the price is supreme on an ARB air locker, but they've been around for a long time, guys, and they make a great product. And it's just like Off-Road Design, same way. They make a great product. They've been around for years. They know what they're doing. They know when you're calling them what you're after, and they know kind of the route you're trying to take, and they're able to help you. Same way with ARB. They know what you're going after. They know why you're going to them. Yeah, you're paying the price, but they always have told me that you pay now, cry. You cry. Let's see. You pay now, cry later, right? It's just part of it. Whenever you're into this four-wheel driving thing, building rigs, you're either going to get the good stuff or you're going to work on it till you do decide to get the good stuff and do it again. Hey guys, it's a pretty nice night, and it's about 9 o'clock out here. Pretty excited because it's been cooling off here in Oklahoma, so that's always good. I just kind of want to get you in here and get you going on an update. So we didn't end up making the 5 that got picked for UA for 2023. So they picked a couple different styles of vehicle. They picked a Tacoma. They picked a a CJ5, I believe, a Willys Jeep, and then they picked a Cherokee XJ. They picked a 79 Ford F-150 as a returning reader, and I think I'm missing one. But anyways, They picked a few out of the bunch that probably were well deserving of it, and so I wish it was me going, not gonna lie, but we didn't make it. So it was pretty cool just to be able to get picked out of the hundreds of application they put in. To just get narrowed down to the 12 is a huge accomplishment, and nonetheless, you know, we're gonna keep on going on, and it's not gonna cramp our style at all. So I'm just excited to get out and be able to use this thing a little bit. So with that being said, we'll be headed up about the first week of September to Moab for a full-size invasion, and really going to be a good test for this truck, and we'll be able to check it out and really kind of go over it and really see how it does. You know, I've been slowly adding little stuff to it here and there. I mean, it's pretty much ready. It's a wheeling rig. It's ready to rock and roll. I got a couple more things knocked off the list today. I added a fire extinguisher to it, and then I added a couple of outlets back here in the back. One is just a 12-volt accessory, and then I also got 2 USB ports as well. So if I want to hook the fridge freezer up back here, we can hook it up, no big deal. Be able to cool down drinks, or if we just want to take the Yeti with us and ice it down every day, that'll work too. So you know, just making small little adjustments here and there. Today I also worked on some of my bolts. I just went through and retightened and retorqued everything. I mean, nothing was not necessarily loose, but you know, just checking everything to make sure. So you know, part of me is you know, excited, but kind of a weight lifted off of me, because I think it's around 2 weeks from now they're doing Ultimate Adventure, so it'd kind of be like a dash to the end to get there. I ordered my rugged radios, so they will be here. I'm pretty stoked about that, because the rugged radios are kind of like what we use in the fire trucks at the fire department. It's we use David Clark, which is like an aviation and, you know, emergency and military headset and radio system. They got a box and everything that works with a speaker on the inside, and then also your headsets that are push to talk. So I'm kind of excited because rugged radios, they also have the same style of setup. It's push to talk, but they've integrated microphones into the headsets, and also push to talk, just like the David Clark headsets. And then also a new thing that they have, which I didn't even know about till I called the other day, was they have Bluetooth, so you can you know, Bluetooth your phone, your radio to it, and you can actually take phone calls through the radio, through the headset. So, you know, not that I'll be taking a lot of phone calls, maybe, you know, but just to be able to listen to music or answer phone calls through the headset's going to be super cool. Also, they're kind of like a noise canceling, so, you know, if we end up going on a long trip in the future, driving down the highway for a long amount of time, and, you know, we don't want to hear any of the 40s singing down the road, we can just throw the headsets on, turn the music up, and just, you know, crank it out. So pretty excited about that. I got that ordered. And, you know, also, you know, since we're going miles and miles away across the country, I ordered some yokes for my axles. I ordered some U-joints. Ordered, let's see, a couple of different things. Some new bolts for the 4-link setup, just in case. I ordered a new fair lead for the winch. I mean, not necessarily something I have to have, but just in case, you know, we might need it. You never know. So I got that all ordered up, so we'll have it. I already have my spare drive shafts made. They're exact replicas of these, the Tom Woods that's on it. So I'll be ready. I mean, I'll be prepared for everything. I'm having a friend of mine that's a machinist that helped me in Austin in the past. He's super talented. I'm having him make me a filler neck for my fuel tank. So to be able to, you know, hook right into the top of that fuel sending unit that's basically like a fuel cap. It's aluminum right now, and it just seals right there. He's making me a piece that I can hook a hose to and then run it on this other side where I can actually stick a nozzle down in there and kind of have it up and out of the way, so I'm not having to crawl in the truck every single time to put fuel in it. It seems like not that big of a deal, but crawling in and out of it, you know, it's just something else to do. So Austin's working on that. I also got my 4-link, or my shocks for my 4-link, all the Kings adjusted today a little bit more even, and gave them a little bit more down travel, because I tightened up the tops of the coilover. So I got that done and got those adjusted, so I'm pretty happy with it. I took it for a drive. Man, I got this thing dead set on the money. Just it's running so good, which I'm sure it might change whenever we go up to Moab, because you know the elevation change between Oklahoma and there is pretty severe. But the good news is with the Holley Terminator X, I'll just be able to take my laptop with me, my cord, and then also the SD card for the little 3.5-inch display screen, hook it up, and then I can call that guy that I met a while back, and you know, if I need to, I can team viewer right in and he can change what we need to change. So it's just endless possibilities with this. I mean, when it's built right, it's built right. So I'm pretty happy. I got the spare. I got my spares for my trailer because, you know, we're making a huge trip. I've been doing some just maintenance stuff on my pickup. You know, I changed out a few little sensors, some wire needed taken care of for the mass airflow sensor. Got that taken care of. Got 2 new tires for my pickup. Just I'm trying to pack everything I need, because the way it works with me, if I pack it and ever I think about it beforehand, I usually don't have any problems. But the second that I say, oh, it'll be fine, is take off down the highway, it's going to be, you know, blowouts and disasters. That's just how it works. So, guys, you know, we started this thing, and, you know, our goal was, number one, to have a pretty sweet rig and one that would really show out and do a great job. And I really think that I've accomplished that. I mean, Moab will be a true test of that, so we'll be able to tell how it does, and it already has done a great job. So I'm stoked about it. I feel like it's built right. I feel like that everything it's done and I've asked it to do has been outstanding. So you know, we'll be able to put in next year for Ultimate Adventure. I mean, who knows? We might get picked. And you know, the other thing is with me, my whole mantra, you know, growing up is I don't give up. I just keep on going, and you can't take the wind out of my sails. So it ain't no big deal. I'll just keep on going down the road, and maybe we'll get picked next year. And I think next year is like the 20th anniversary possibly of Ultimate Adventure. So that'll be pretty cool if we get to go on that one. It's just one of those things you grow up watching, you grow up, you know, looking at, and especially whenever you're a gearhead like me, you know, you just look forwards to that. And every year when they air it on Motor Trend or, you know, on YouTube, like I love like binge watching all the episodes, just seeing where they went and what they've been through. So it's okay, guys. It ain't no big deal. You know, we're gonna go wheel it, and we're gonna, in my opinion, I'm gonna get better at knowing the truck and its capabilities and how it's doing. And I'm gonna get better, you know, at driving, as also figuring the truck out and its weak spots. And you know, if something breaks, I mean, it'll be a blessing, because I'll be able to fix it when I get there, and I'll be able to find out. I mean, if we would have made UA, it would have been like a fire sale. Like, we would have been like, boom, if it breaks, like, let's figure it out. And you know, we would have been put on the spot. We would have figured it out. But this way, I'll be able to get to know it and really get to wheel it hard and figure out where I'm at. And you know, every vehicle, I don't care if this is a vehicle that you drive daily to work and back, or four-wheeling on the weekends or whatever, those vehicles have their own personality, and you get to know them. I work on vehicles here at the shop every day that I'm at the fire station, and so you find out that whenever you're working on those vehicles, every person, you know, that's driven that vehicle for any amount of time, they kind of know a little bit about it. They know the creaks, the pops, the ways it responds. And so sometimes with me, I have to call the customer and say, you know, hey, has it been doing this for a while, or has this done this to you before? And it's kind of nice to get some history on it. So same thing with this, you know, me being able to drive it and get miles underneath it. I'm a little over 560 miles on this thing now, because I've been driving it here and there to town and all over the place, going to get, you know, energy drink from down at Quick Trip. Just why not, you know, because it drives great. But I've been getting miles on it, so I'm getting to know it. I'm getting to know the way it feels, the way everything's working. It's just, it's been great. So I really can't complain about it. So I'm getting to know it well, and I'm happy about that. So I'm happy with the progress we've made on it, and the product that we have put out there now is just is great. So, you know, there's some things I'm sure will change after we get back from Moab and do that trip, and you know, there might be some things that you know, we can capitalize on and get better. But for the most part, guys, I think we're there, and so we're gonna bring you along. I got another GoPro, so I'll have 2. Actually, I think I'm gonna have 3. Just in case, one to keep on the truck. I'm getting ready to invest in some batteries because they are pretty known for overheating. So I'm going to get a couple sets of batteries, a charger that I can throw in the truck. And then also, it's kind of hot there already. I've been watching some of Rory's videos, Trailmater, and those guys, Fab Rats. I've been watching them, and it seems like it's really hot up there. So hopefully during the week of full-size invasion, it's not crazy. But I mean, I'm from Oklahoma, and we get some of the hottest of the hot, so it can't be that bad. I'm sure it's not that bad. It's been hot. Just over 2 weeks ago, it was 104, 103 degrees here in Oklahoma with 98% humidity, and it's just ridiculous. But you know, if you don't have a fan on you, you're just sweating and you're not even doing anything. That's how Oklahoma is. So guys, I really appreciate your support for my YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You know, there's going to be more to come on this, wheeling wise and changing, but I'm already in my head, and I probably shouldn't tell Olivia this, my wife, but you know, there's probably going to be another project, and there's some ideas I got about possibly doing something else. I mean, why not, right? I mean, it's kind of a sickness, and I like it. You know, it's a good sickness. I like being able to work with my hands, build stuff. I just enjoy, you know, figuring out how to do things and making it work. You know, that's keeping my mind going. And in the fire service is the same way as being a mechanic, and you know, in life too, it's kind of like if you quit learning and you continue to go backwards, you're not going forwards anymore. So you got to continue to learn and keep pushing to make yourself better. So I want to become a better fabricator. I want to become better at this skill. You know, I want to become very skilled at this skill of building trucks, because I really do enjoy it. Like it's a passion of mine. I mean, making it work, even though nobody had done the Super Duty axle in a Chevy pickup that I had seen, you know, it was a challenge, and we made it work. And so I'm really proud of the progress and the product that we came out with. So guys, hang in there with me. Let's get some more videos going, and hopefully you'll be entertained by it, and hopefully we'll get some good stuff on video. Take it easy.